सन 1903 हवाई जहाज के इन्वेंशन ने बदल दिया दुनिया के आने जाने का तरीका। 2022 वेदांतु लॉन्चेस एआई लाइव और यह बदलने वाला है दुनिया के सीखने का तरीका। इंटरैक्टिव क्लासेस, टॉप टीचर्स, सिर्फ 5,000 रुपए सालाना।
Hello everybody, a very warm welcome to the fantastic, fabulous and fantabulous session by Vedantu 9th and 10th English. My name is Pritesh. I'm your host, your host and a proud master teacher from Vedantu, welcoming you to the very important chapter from your grade 10 life processes, where we are discussing the next process that helps to make a living organism living, and the name of that process is transportation. The transportation of blood, the transportation of waste, the transportation of gases, not only in human beings, but we'll also be discussing the transportation in plants as well. So let us quickly begin the learning of the process of transportation in animals as well as plants. Now, we are discussing transportation. This is some information about myself. You can follow me on Instagram at Pritesh_Vedantu. That's my Insta handle. Now, to begin with transportation in plants, there are two very important processes that we'll be discussing in plants. So, one of them is the process of photosynthesis, where plants take in carbon dioxide from the stomata, they take in water from the roots, the water travels from the roots to the leaves where photosynthesis is taking place. Then the plant prepares food, and this food then goes to each and every part of the plant from the leaves. So there is a dense, not very complex, but yes, a very efficient system of transport of nutrients in plants as well. So in photosynthesis, we have got two processes, that is carbon dioxide, two products or two compounds, carbon dioxide and sunlight. Whereas when I talk about nutrients, we have got nitrogen, phosphorus and other minerals. When will plants use diffusion as the strategy? Now there is a lot of confusion around diffusion and osmosis. So when will plants use diffusion and when will they use osmosis? So if the distance between the soil contracting organs and chlorophyll containing organs and chlorophyll containing organs are small, energy and raw materials can easily diffuse to all parts of the body. So, meaning that when the cells are very close to each other, when they just want to give it to the next cell and the next cell and the next cell and the next cell, when they want to do this passing the parcel, they will use diffusion. So, a very simple trick to remember that when do plants use diffusion is passing the parcel. Whenever they are doing passing the parcel from one cell to the next, from one cell to the next, that is when they practice diffusion. And when plants require a vascular system, when the distance is more, like when they are transporting water from the root to the shoot, the distance is more for a small plant, and that is when they use the vessel called xylem, right? And similarly, if suppose a tip of the plant has prepared food and now it wants to give it to the root, so that time also the distance is more, so that time they use a vascular tissue called phloem. For this also I'll be giving you tips that how to remember xylem, how to remember phloem, but for that you have to stay tuned. So when I talk about xylem, xylem is meant for conduction of water and minerals. It's a tissue. It's a tissue. Xylem is, the wall is made of lignin. There are no end walls between the cells and it is unidirectional. A very important part about xylem that you should remember is that it is unidirectional, and phloem is bidirectional, because the food will be prepared in the leaf, it will be given to the branch above the leaf also, it will be given to the branch below the leaf also. So that is why phloem is bidirectional, consisting of companion cells and sieve tubes. So sieve tubes, companion cells, all of them are a part of the xylem and the phloem. Now when I talk about an easy way to remember xylem and phloem, here is the trick that I am giving you. So remember that from fur we have got phloem and from fur we have got food, right? So I know this is an English channel, but the basic of Devanagari we all know that first say we have got phloem. Look at the sound. First say phloem, first say food. So phloem and food, they both start with ph, and that is how even I remember that phloem is for food and xylem is for water. So xylem helps in the conduction of water and minerals, and phloem helps in the conduction of food. Xylem is unidirectional and phloem is bidirectional. So the transportation by xylem is done by root pressure and transpiration. So there are two forces that are helping the xylem to take the water from the root to the shoot. These two forces are root pressure and transpiration. There is a continuous interconnected channel for transport from roots to the leaves, and that is when the transpirational pull also comes into place. Now I'll tell you a very simple process that how this happens. So imagine that my palm is the leaf and this is the xylem, right? So when this stomata on the leaf opens, it gives out water vapor. Now that is transpiration, to give out water in the form of water vapor. Now this stomata over here, it again needs water to close. So it generates a pull, a suction pull that helps the water to go up through the xylem, fill the guard cells so that the stomata will close. And this transpirational pull helps the xylem to conduct water even in very tall trees, and that is how the xylem works, right? So that is how the ascent of sap also works. So when I talk about root pressure, the root cells in contact with the soil take up the ions, create concentration difference between the root and the soil, and that is how the process of osmosis and diffusion take place. So water and minerals in the soil go into the root hair, from root hair to cell, cell to cell, cell to cell, cell to cell, and finally to the continuous column of xylem. Now when I talk about to balance the ion concentration, there is a continuous supply of water. So what happens, I'll just explain you on a with the help of a diagram. So exactly what happens, this is the root hair and these are the neighboring cells. These are all my root cells. Okay? Now when the water from the soil came in here, right, so this became less this became dilute, this became dilute, and this became concentrated. So because this became concentrated, the water got attracted over here. Now when water came here, this became dilute, this became concentrated, so it attracted the water here. Now because the water came here, this became concentrated and this became dilute, so the water got attracted here. So in this way the water moves from cell to cell because of the concentration difference between the two root cells. The constant supply of water pushes the column of water upward, but it is not enough. So basically it's an active transport, but now passive transport comes in place through the process of transpirational pull. The loss of water in the form of water vapor from aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration, and now because of the transpirational pull, the xylem is able to put the water upwards. See, what the roots can do, the roots can only take the water to a certain height. Because of the root pressure in the xylem, the water can only go up to a certain height. Beyond that, if the water has to travel through the xylem upwards, which is against the gravity, it needs some pulling force, it needs a motor, and the transpirational pull acts like that. Imagine the sequoia tree or imagine the eucalyptus tree, which are so tall. The root pressure is not enough to push the water till the tip of the leaf. The root pressure is enough to put the water till a certain height, right? And these leaves are, these trees are like, some 60-70 feet tall. So in these cases, transpirational pull helps to pull the water upwards through the xylem. It helps in the absorption and upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in the roots to the leaves. It helps in temperature regulation in plants. If you have learnt in grade 8 friction chapter that friction is a necessary evil, the same phrase is used for transpiration as well. That transpiration is a necessary evil. So, transport of food and other products. So, now we come to the transport of food, that is through the phloem. First say food, first say phloem. Transport of soluble products of photosynthesis in a plant is called translocation. Now you are learning so many terms. Transpiration, translocation. So translocation is the movement of food. Translocation occurs in the phloem. It needs energy in the form of ATP. Phloem also delivers amino acids and other products like the proteins. Phloem especially delivers substances to the storage organs of the roots, fruits, stem and seeds, and to the growing organs. Now we know that when plant prepares food, the food is utilized in two forms. One is glucose, which is stored, which is used for all the activities of the plant, and the second form of food is starch, which is stored in the root, which is stored in the fruit, which is stored in the stem, and which is stored in the seeds as well. The translocation of food and other substances takes place in the sieve tubes. So, sieve tubes and the companion cells both in upward and downward direction. So, this sieve tubes and companion cells, they are a part of the phloem. So, if you, in your grade 9, you have studied the detailed structure of phloem, which is a tissue of the plant. So, you know that phloem has got so many different types of tissues in it, and all these tissues help in the conduction of food upward and downward as well. When I say upward and downward, it means that phloem is bidirectional, right? These are basics which you already know. Material like sucrose is transferred into the phloem tissue using energy from ATP. It increases the osmotic pressure because the concentration increases, causing water to move into it. This pressure moves the material in the phloem to which has less pressure. It allows the phloem to move material according to the plant's needs. So just like I showed you that how water transports from one cell to other cell in the root, similarly even sucrose transports from one cell to the other cell because of the concentration difference. It is all about the concentration difference and the movement of water. Now, when I talk about the process of transportation in human beings, it is far more complex because there are a number of different organs involved over here. There is a more complex organism that we are dealing with, and there are also a number of tissues and blood vessels involved. So when I talk about the circulatory system helps in the transport of gases, nutrients and waste products. We need to transport nutrients, we need to transport waste, we need to transport gases. For this we need a circulatory system. The components of the circulatory system are the pumping organ heart, the blood vessels and the circulatory fluid, that is blood and lymph. Right? Then the heart is located at the center of your chest, slightly tilted towards the left. The heart is not in the left, it is slightly tilted towards the left, protected by the rib cage. Right? So see, if you see, both your lungs are here and the heart is located over here. It is surrounded by the pericardial membrane which protects the heart. The heart of an adult is approximately 350 grams and it is the size of your closed fist. So see, my heart is so small, but it is very big to accommodate all of you. So figuratively, it is very, very big, and literally it is just this much. Now, when I talk about the structure of the heart, we all know the basics that heart is a four-chambered structure with the left auricle or the atrium and the left ventricle, the right auricle and the right ventricle. You have got the pulmonary veins, the pulmonary artery, the systemic aorta, eustachian valve. You have also got a couple of other openings in the heart. You have got the bicuspid valve, the tricuspid valve. The bicuspid valve is also called as the mitral valve. The semilunar valves which go through the different arteries. So the left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. We have also got the valves which open fully, blood flows through, and valve closes tightly. The blood cannot flow backwards. So basically the function of the valves which are present in the veins is to prevent the backflow of the blood. Okay, so you've got the pulmonary valve, tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve and the aortic valve. Aortic valve goes through the aorta when it supplies the blood to all the parts of the body, and pulmonary valve takes the blood again it is for the pulmonary vein. Okay, so now the very important part is the entire left side of the heart, it receives oxygenated blood from the lungs, it receives the oxygenated blood from the left atrium, it goes to the left ventricle, and similarly the entire body receives, the heart receives deoxygenated blood from the entire body to the right side, that is into the right auricle through the superior and the inferior vena cava. Over here I would also like to tell you something, that the blood from the chest and the head, the deoxygenated blood from the chest and the head comes into the right auricle through the superior vena cava, and from the chest and below the deoxygenated blood comes into the right auricle through the inferior vena cava. Now, blood vessels entering and leaving the heart. So the pulmonary veins bring the oxygenated blood from the lungs into the left atrium. From the left atrium it goes to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle it goes to the aorta. From the aorta it goes to the entire body. From the entire body it comes to the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava into the right atrium. From right atrium it goes to the right ventricle. From right ventricle it goes through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. So if I just quickly tell you that how this all happens. Okay, so the pulmonary veins are getting from lungs. This is oxygenated blood. So this is your 1, 2, 3, 4. This is body. Okay? Then from the body it comes from here 5, and I'm here also I'm writing 5 dash, right? It comes here from body. This is deoxygenated blood. Okay? Then from here it comes here over 6, then 7 to lungs. That's it. Okay? The left side has the bicuspid valve, which is having 2 cusps, and the right side is having tricuspid valve, which is having 3 cusps. It is also called as the bicuspid or the mitral valve. Now what I'll do is I just explain it to you with the help of a diagrammatic representation of how the heart works. So what we'll do is we'll just draw 3 boxes. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll take green for oxygen so that it's visible. Okay? Now, so oxygenated blood comes from the lungs into the left auricle. This is through the pulmonary veins. Is it visible? No, it's not visible. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll keep black for oxygen. Okay. So this comes like this. Through the pulmonary veins, it is the oxygenated blood. From here, it goes to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it goes to the body. This is through the aorta. From the body, the deoxygenated blood goes to the right ventricle in 2 forms. One is superior vena cava and one is inferior vena cava. From here, it goes to the right ventricle. From right ventricle, it goes back to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. This is the basics. Okay? This is the bicuspid valve, tricuspid valve. Bicuspid valve also called as mitral valve, right? Then you have got valves over here, you have got valves over here as well. Pulmonary artery and aorta, both places you have got valves. There are many other valves also. There is something called as foramen of Monro, then there is your eustachian valve. There are many other valves, but from your grade 10 this is what is important. So you can take a pic of it or you can draw it as per your convenience also. I have just given you a basic diagrammatic representation. So if I just go on numbering, this becomes your 1, this becomes your 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, chalo, 6 and 7. 7 steps of blood circulation. Now, if you see over here, lungs to heart is pulmonary veins, heart to lungs is pulmonary artery, and that is why the circulation between lungs to heart, heart to lungs, lungs to heart to lungs is called as pulmonary circulation. Lungs to heart and heart to lungs, and body, heart to body, body to heart, heart to body, body to heart is called as systemic circulation. So that is double circulation in humans, right? Okay. Now, when we breathe in, the air goes from the nostrils into the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and finally the alveolar sac. Here, the RBC picks up the oxygen from the alveolar sac, gives the carbon dioxide, and takes the oxygen to each and every cell of the body. This I have already explained to you. Double circulation. When I talk about blood vessels, we have got 3 types: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Remember, A, arteries, A away. Arteries will always take the blood away from the heart. So, arteries will always take the blood away from the heart, right? So, arteries have thick and elastic walls and they sustain high pressure. Veins have valves, arteries don't have valves. Remember, V veins, V valves. So, you know, this is how you do biology. You remember it by tricks and tips. So, veins have valves, arteries don't have valves. Okay? Then, they carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery, which is carrying deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Veins carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary veins, which are carrying oxygenated blood to the heart. They have the valves to prevent the backflow of blood because they are going against the gravity. Now see, veins will bring the blood to the heart. Veins will bring the blood to the heart. So they will, that is why, work against gravity, and that is why they have got valves to prevent the backflow of blood. So this is the difference between arteries and veins. Arteries carry away, veins carry towards. Arteries have high pressure, even veins have high pressure. Arteries have thick and elastic walls, veins have thin and less elastic walls. Arteries don't have valves, veins have valves. They carry oxygenated blood, they carry deoxygenated blood. This is again super important from an exam point of view. And now we talk about the components of blood. So blood has got a liquid part and cellular part. 55% of the blood is plasma, remaining 45 is the cellular part. Out of that 45, RBC is 44 and this is 1%. If I talk about the components of plasma, plasma has got water, proteins, hormones, ions, little amount of cells and other nutrients. It has also got a little amount of leukocytes. RBCs, erythrocytes, they have got hemoglobin, which is the iron and the protein part that binds with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, and it binds with carbon dioxide to form carbaminohemoglobin. Then WBCs have got two categories. You have got granulocytes and agranulocytes over here. They are called as leukocytes in general. Under granulocytes and agranulocytes, you have got lymphocytes, monocytes, basophils, neutrophils, eosinophils. And platelets are called as thrombocytes. They are meant for blood clotting. These are the basics, right? So, RBC, platelets, WBCs, plasma. Platelets, they help in blood clotting. Whenever there is a cut or a blood loss, they will immediately form a plug to stop the loss of blood. Lymph, high porosity of capillaries and high pressure of the blood forms the tissue fluid, which is the lymph. The lymph has its own lymphatic system. Basically, it's the it's the immunity system of the body. So, lymphatic system having its own lymphatic vessels, lymphatic nodes, lymphatic valves is basically an entire system of its own. Functions of the lymph is super important. See, they might not ask you that what is lymph, they might ask you, but they will not ask you the drainage system of lymph or how lymph flows through the body. But the functions of the lymph is very, very important from an exam point of view. So, when I talk about the functions of the lymph, I have got it removes excess fluid, it transports fats from the digestive system, it removes debris or the waste from the cell, and it helps to fight the infection. The difference between lymph and plasma is that lymph is modified tissue fluid having WBC, salts and proteins. Plasma is cell-free part having salts, proteins, hormones and others. Lymph flows through its lymphatic vessels, plasma flows through the blood vessels. Lymph can coagulate but very, very slowly. It contains these two in small quantities. Plasma can coagulate because it has got fibrinogen and prothrombin. So that's why plasma coagulates faster, lymph coagulates very, very small because it has fibrinogen and prothrombin but in very, very small quantities. Systole and diastole. So basically systole is the contraction of the heart and diastole is the relaxation of the heart. This creates a sound lub-dub, L-U-B-B-D-U-B-B. And because of this lub-dub sound is the sound of the heart. The heart can be heard using a sphygmomanometer. See, ventricular systole and ventricular diastole. So systole is when the ventricles contract and they give the blood to the entire body and the lungs. Diastole is when the ventricles relax and they get filled with the blood. So the normal systolic diastolic pressure is 80 by 120 millimeter of mercury, right? So 80 by 120 is the normal blood pressure. Anything more or less than that is harmful. Like if the blood pressure goes to 80, 89 by 130, it is hypertension stage 1. If it has crossed 90 and 140, it is hypertension stage 2. And if it is more than 120, 180, then the person is almost dead. And that is hypertensive crisis. So, blood pressure is, the blood pressure is measured using a sphygmomanometer and the heart can be heard using a stethoscope. That's it. So guys, if you want to learn with all your amazing teachers of Vedantu for just rupees 4,500 and you have just got few hours left because today is the 30th of May, after 12 o'clock, the cost is going to get doubled. So you have got only few hours. I think the last 2.5 hours to buy this course for 4,500 because after that the cost is going to get double. It is going to become it is going to become more than 9,000 rupees. So if you want to buy and learn English, Math, Physics, Chemistry, Bio and SST from your favorite teachers of Vedantu, Amit Sir, Abhishek Sir, Harshpriyam Sir, Amrit Sir, Ankana Ma'am, Shilpi Ma'am, Bhavna Ma'am, Anup Sir, then Sana Ma'am or Maria Ma'am or myself, and there are so many beautiful teachers out there in Vedantu 9/10, Anubha Ma'am. So if you want to learn with these teachers for just rupees 4,500, then you have just got 2.5 hours left because after 12 o'clock the cost is going to get double. So make sure that you buy this course by using the coupon code PREPRO, which will give you these subjects for the entire year for 4,500 only, right? So also the question for you, the brain teaser question is that mention 3 kinds of cell present in the blood and write 1 function of each. So in short, you can just mention the 3 cells and their functions. And with that, we come to the end, guys. I hope you enjoyed. even though the session was a little faster, I tried to cover all the concepts in as much detail as possible. So I'll be seeing you again next time. Till then, do not forget to give this video a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to Vedantu 9/10 English, and yes, do share it with all your friends and school WhatsApp groups. I'll be seeing you again. Till then, take care of yourself. God bless you. Bye-bye. Thank you.